Thank you, Chief.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the City of Palatka Special Called City Commission meeting on November 24th, 2025 at 5 p.m. I'm calling the meeting to order. We'll begin with an invocation led by Pastor Mulberry and the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Davis. Please stand.
Let us pray. Father, again, thank you for bringing us together once again. We thank you for this opportunity to come before you. We pray, God, in this season of Thanksgiving that you will help us to understand our need to give thanks. We thank you for how you woke us up. You allowed us to be here. And God, again, we say thank you. We pray that you would crown our heads with wisdom, God, as we move forward in this meeting tonight. Let your will be done. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Please join the pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Borum, Commissioner Jones,
Present.
Commissioner Campbell,
Present.
Commissioner Davis,
President.
Mayor Carrera.
Present. Thank you. We have quorum. I'm going to open the floor to public comments. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. Please be polite and provide your name and city or town of residence. Is there anybody here for public comments? We do have some cards. And we will get to those. Mackenzie Frey. What? This is the only topic on the agenda, but okay, thank you. Is there anybody else here for public comment? Ms. Kitchens?
I just want to make sure that we will be allowed to speak on the issue of the city manager when the item comes up and we don't have to speak on it during public comments.
Ms. West, should I just reserve it? Apparently, all the public comment cards are for this time.
Any other hearing, this is public comment for items that
They're
are.
not listed on the agenda.
So,
Right,
yes,
She
so
will have
please,
an opportunity.
I will call you up when.
Thank you. I wanted to confirm.
Anybody here for public comments on general items not listed on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll close public comment and we're going to move on to regular business. City manager cure evaluation. Ms. Jones?
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, the purpose of this meeting is actually to come to a post-evaluation of the 30-day cure period that was granted to the city manager to determine how the commission will be moving forward. I did provide each commissioner with a rubrics with 14 items on the rubrics of the things that were listed and required for the city manager to complete prior to this time, or to be attempting completion during this time. I did receive, and my objective was to be able to score whether the information that was provided by the commission, by the city manager was acceptable documentation as to the completion, or whether it was not, or whether it was something else that the commission may have desired her to take. I did receive 2 back. However, I did communicate with 4 commissioners, but 2 I came back that I was able to put the numerical value to. I have 14 yeses and I have 13 ongoing, and 1 does not meet the requirements. So for the other 3 commissioners, can basically just score or just talk about the scoring that they gave.
Any questions of Ms. Jones? I'll start with Commissioner Davis. Anything, comments related to say? How would we like to move on?
For me, based on my meetings with the city manager during the cure period, I met with the city manager weekly during the cure period, and I had a meeting on Friday morning with her to evaluate whether or not she completed all that was required for the cure period. I will say that I am satisfied that not only did she meet the requirements during the cure period, that she also went above and beyond in some instances. I do know there is evidence that she did not wait until the last minute. She addressed items immediately. And I am confident that she met what was required for the cure period and to remain as the city manager.
Thank you. Commissioner Jones? Do you want to provide any feedback or comments?
I didn't have opportunity to meet directly with the city manager during the cure period. We have a standing meeting every Tuesday at 11 a.m. And unfortunately, and with some flexibility, I gave Ms. Carter the opportunity that we could actually speak over the phone. She gave me updates and we talked about what's going to transpire or what actions that she's going to take during the week. Follow up on things that, action items, things that are in the parking lot to be completed. And 2 of those meetings, 3 weeks, 2 of those meetings were pushed back. Last Tuesday, our meeting, something came up. She said she had some fires to put out. And I'm gonna be blatant and open. I basically told Ms. Carter during that time that I feel that Commissioner Jones, I feel slighted because yes, Ms. Davis or Mr. Campbell, the mayor, I don't know what arrangement you guys have, but it started making me feel that I was not as important to talk to me about these things that's going on. And I really feel that Ms. Carter probably been bombarded. To her credit. However, promptness is important. Keeping those meetings is paramount during this time. And this is a crucial time that I feel that the evaluation is supposed to went on and we could have some follow through. So I was a little disappointed in our connection through this time. And that leaves me with some questions that she later addressed, to your credit. You did address it in your emails to, I think everybody received them. But I did want to point out, again, some deficiencies. That doesn't have anything to do with the main reasons why we're here, but as Ms. Davis, Commissioner Davis pointed out that, you know, she was able to meet and was prompt and was given everything she needed. I mean, even in this process, you know, Ms. Davis had been the forerunner and actually demanding what we were going to do, and we all agreed. You got to understand, it is 5 of us up here. And as hard as it may be, I guess we may get a little jealous when we don't get your time. But as far as your due diligence, I have to give you credit for that, Ms. Carter. But so that's where I'm at with that. So that's my opening, my candor. If you're talking about scoring it, the reason why we didn't score it because we did not meet and we did not share what I felt the evaluation supposed to be. That means her feedback and my feedback on her feedback of where we are, with your answers and your sure. So I wanted to be able to give you that during that time. At this time, it's not appropriate, I don't think.
Commissioner Campbell?
I've had the opportunity to meet with Ms. Carty, with regard to the cure process. There are some things, that we spoke about, as well as moving forward. However, there were two things that I specifically asked within our last few meetings with regards to some things that were previously supposed to be addressed, and asked in a public forum to know if they were addressed, and if they were not addressed, that it be documented in the file. And as a result of what was submitted to HR, it was not completed prior to this round. And I stand by what I stated in the motion that was approved by the commission, that that be documented in the file and properly close out the first grievance process.
I also meet with Ms. Cotty every Monday at 8:30 a.m. and have been doing so during this 30-day period. I do applaud, she did complete all that was asked of her in a timely fashion, with the exception of one that is ongoing, the ICMA 201. So she, for what we requested and required of her, she did complete that and deserves the credit for doing that. There are things I have concerns about, but again, we need to do the evaluation aside of this process. And I think that will come at the annual eval. We need to set that up and set up goals. And we need to get that in place, and we haven't done that. And I can agree with Commissioner Campbell that we need to close out a previous issue. Go ahead, Commissioner Davis.
I'd like to revisit the previous issue. I went back, and this is a question for HR. I believe the previous grievance that we're referring to, I just want to make sure that we're on the same page for that item. Was this regarding the letter we received from an employee who no longer works here? Was
Well-
there, I'm sorry, can we,
I'll
can I clarify
break
which
it.
brief?
So as a part of the closing out process, for the previous grievance, and that person actually came to, one of our meetings and actually spoke. A part of that was that she was supposed to complete certain courses in which were not completed in its entirety. So that's the reason why I wanted to make sure, and I made mention in the previous meetings, and I actually asked the question multiple times, were they completed? And it was not given a full yes or no. I spoke with the representative who actually put forth that training, and it's two different trainings that were not completed in its entirety. The attendance was there, however, it was not complete in its entirety, and the representative of that organization was leery of putting her name on documentation that states that she completed the course and it was not thoroughly completed. So that's why I wanted to make sure that that was done, because I gave the opportunity for that to be aired out in the open as I do everything else, and it was not at that time. And the motion that was made during that particular meeting stated that if it was not complete, that it be documented in the file.
Thank you. And I thought we included that in the cure period,
We
right?
did include
Okay,
it in the
and
cure
so-
period, but the reason why I'm making sure, because it was not done before, and the two courses that should have been done would have probably prevented us from being at this process right now, because it was managing emotionals in the workplace and effective communication by the workplace, in the workplace.
Okay, so just to be clear, the motion was that if they had not been done prior, that we would put that in her file,
Yes.
correct? Okay, got it. But she did
She
she
completed-
went back and redid them.
She
Thank
completed
you.
it as a-
That's the clarification I needed. Thank you.
And so going forward, at this point, how do we want to move forward? Oh, I did want, oh, go ahead, Commissioner.
No, no, I'm gonna-
I did want to mention, I also did take the liberty of calling Mr. Hanson and just chatting with him briefly about how this had, since he's been functioning as her mentor, as Ms. Cotty's mentor during this process. And he was very positive and felt she was really putting a great effort into making this work and doing what she needed to do in terms of training. So just for the record,
Um,
go ahead. Sorry.
and here was something I was a little confused. I wasn't confused, but I know we omitted it, and we as our commission omitted it. In the items to cure, we did put some
classes like ethics classes, the classes that Commissioner Campbell just spoke on. But what we did not have included in that is an amount of hours that these classes or webinars should consist of. Just like any other state certification, usually there's an amount of hours that you must complete to actually get a certification in a certain area. Not Ms. Carter's fault. We failed to do that. So in some of those certificates, I seen 1 hour classes, 1.5 hour classes. And so I don't know how much do you get out of sitting in a 1 hour class versus a 20-hour class, 40-hour class, and those that you get certificates for. Neither did we ask HR who actually, I guess, check on the validity of such classes. And as you mentioned, classes were taken but wasn't completed. And I just had a question about the validity or the requested hours for each. On that side. I really would ask Ms. Davis, really, on that.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner. So I think there are two things here. The classes that were put in the CURE plan are classes that would provide some immediate support for the work that is currently being done. That the certificates are simply that, a certificate of completion that she completed those courses. The one course is ongoing, which really lends to certification. Ms. Carty has taken part 1 through the Florida League of Cities. The second part is what is ongoing, and that is a continuing course for certification, which is different from the other courses. My rationale for submitting the recommendation that the commission approved was for some immediate support, and that's what those classes were. In addition, when I recommended those classes that were, again, approved by the commission, I referenced the platform in which those classes were, which many professionals take those classes. Again, it's not the end all to be all, but I believe it provided immediate support to her in doing her job that would supplement the ongoing certification process and support the practical support she was getting from a mentee from the Florida League of Cities. So that was my purpose, and it was intentional. I don't believe that we left anything out at this point for the CURE period. Now, if we want to talk about ongoing, once we make a decision here tonight and Ms. Carty continues as city manager, I believe we have ongoing training that is required and ongoing support, which I see in Ms. Carter's response to us with an established mentor to continue supporting her and continuing through the classes through the Florida League of Cities and additional, I suppose what I would call professional development. Does that answer your question, Commissioner?
Yes, it does. It does, but we still didn't give her a clock hour, and that's understood.
You mean a clock hour? I don't
Clock
know what
hour.
You mean?
Not for hours.
Yeah, like you go get CEs, continuing education hours, or what have you. For certain positions, you have to have
So
14
typically,
hours per
correct.
per every 2 years or something like that. So there's
If
really
I can
no
answer that. If
quantitative,
I can answer your CEs.
Let him finish.
Okay.
there's no quantitative number on what we actually put out there for Ms. Carty to accomplish in this 30 days, which a lot of it would have been unachievable anyway. I think we all could agree on that. And so to to be fair to her, that's why I kind of had those questions going in, and to give a fair evaluation. That's why I couldn't come up with an evaluation, because we had no quantitative data to actually do a check and balance. So and that's why I wanted to explain the reason why. And I wanted to come back and make certain that I didn't miss anything from your request as far as what she needed to do.
Go ahead, Commissioner Davis.
I understand what you're asking. I just don't think it's a reasonable request. This was a 30-day cure period. This was not 30 days in which to become certified and get CEs. Typically, CEs are required when a person has a certification to maintain certification. Typically is what I said, typically. And so I just don't think we're there yet. I think that's something, and you mentioned that's not even reasonable, because the motion which passed was for Ms. Cardy to be reinstated as the city manager, which means she was going to be doing the work in addition to completing the required trainings, in addition to having a seasoned mentor. And I suppose when I was making the recommendation, again, it was approved by the commission, not by me. I simply made the motion and the recommendation. I can't do anything by myself. The other item I would like to address is that once it was approved, that was it. One of the things we talked about is the responsibility of the commission for our employee. And that is to ensure that we support her in getting what she's needed. Again, we hired a city manager who was not experienced, and we were well aware of that. And what we said in hiring her is that we would give her the support in getting the credentials needed to do the job that typically someone we hired would already have. So when I was thinking about curing was for a specific situation to determine if Ms. Cardy if we decide that she is to continue being the city manager. I think it's only fair to say that we cannot predict the future. We were here to cure a specific allegations, address specific allegations, and of course, honor the contract requirements. And I think we did that. In terms of meeting, I would like to say that no, I have not had any problems with my scheduled meeting. I have a standing meeting with Ms. Cardy. I usually confirm before our meeting that we are going to meet because I know things occur. And during one of the meetings, I scheduled my meeting to review her on Friday. So I cannot speak to, again, your circumstances. I hear that because we're all individuals. But from my perspective, I can only say that based on what we required, what we need for to address the situation at hand, in my opinion and my evaluation has been met. Thank you.
Commissioner Campbell?
I will say this, and as we move forward one way or another, I honestly believe we put too much onto our human resources. And I say that because we still have to take in consideration that human resources report to the city manager. And one thing that I've tried to do in previous meetings was, how do we wish to address certain stuff? And nothing to take away anything that HR has put forth, but we also know that HR is carrying a whole lot outside of carrying this. So I want us to take in consideration as we begin to move forward, if we're talking about our employee, there are gonna be some times where in these open forums, we are going to have to come up with the metrics. There are some times where we're gonna have to come up with certain things with regards to how we want to evaluate or how we want to proceed with our employee. Honestly, HR does not report to us. She reports to the city manager. So ultimately, if we're giving direction, direction needs to come directly from this dais, from the 5 individuals that were elected, from the 5 individuals who voted to have Ms. Cardi where she is, or whoever may be in that seat. So I do want to put that out there, that again, as we move forward one way or another, with or without, that we take advantage of what it is that we're supposed to do. Evaluations moving forward, the direction needs to come from this body and not our human resource. Because essentially it puts her in an awkward position.
Okay, well, I think, at least I'm gonna summarize what I think the consensus is that basically it's regards to why we're here, the cure period that was required by your contract, Ms. Cardi, that you have met those requirements. I don't know if anybody has any different opinions on that in terms of training. I may not be as specific as some folks wanted, but all of the training we set forth has been met. Then she did acquire a mentor and then a more long-term mentee. So I don't know if there's anything further in regard of why we're here, which is the cure period, and to establish whether that was done or not, and it appears that it was. How would we like to move forward?
I think for full transparency, Honorable Mayor, that we could. I mean, I think you have people that's in the audience that don't know what we're even talking about. But Ms. Cardi took time out to actually address each one of them. Would that be appropriate that we
That's
go
fine if you would
down?
like that in terms of additional information, that's fine if Ms. Cox. So you want her to address each component that she was asked to, each item?
Absolutely, why not?
Okay, I just want to.
can?
Yeah, go ahead. Okay. Okay, I'm ready.
Before we get started, I want to clarify
Okay.
what we're asking for. Are you asking for that she address each component of the cure period?
I think that'd be appropriate. I mean,
Because the cure period was what's included in the letter.
Like, so all of these items, these trainings listed in the letter, you just wanted to give a little overview of each?
That's the question I'm asking.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make.
How I understood it, but just.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, is that it in your right hand?
No.
Oh.
No. Do you need a copy of it?
Just need a copy of the letter. Okay, thank you. So first of all, good evening, everyone. Good evening. Okay, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to respond. As it relates to the cure period, I want to say it's been really very enlightening. And I have learned a lot. Even in my dreams, I dream new words that I never knew before. And my directors are tired of hearing about the new words such as psychometric assessment, amplification, allyship. These are some new words that I learned as I took the classes. Public sector leadership and ethics. I actually took 2 classes for that, applying ethics in public sector and also ethical leadership. And both of them, I learned perspectives and more information, understanding the difference between private business, public sector. Public sector is more geared towards benefiting the community, whereas private sector is more profit oriented. So it's just an example. Employee engagement, learning how important your body language is more than your words even. Learning how to listen actively, how to be silent so that you can absorb, and how to come back to the employee and be sure that communication has actually occurred. As it relate to implicit bias, I took a class called Diversity, Inclusion, and Unconscious Bias in the workplace. It was just very enlightening because it forced you to look at your upbringing, your culture, colloquialism, acknowledging the various generations, learning that there are 5 generations in the workplace, even as we speak today. For time management, I took a course that was called Mastering Time Management and Organizational Skills at Work. That was incredible. You know, there is the part about breaking all of your priorities up into urgent, important, critical, can go for tomorrow. More important, just learning more about prioritization, allocating time for leisure, balance, work balance. All of the classes I took were so great, so informative. I don't know if you could understand how grateful I am that I was given such an opportunity to just focus in on learning from books. I know a lot, I've done a lot, I've managed a lot, but I don't know if I've ever stopped to focus in except during the period of time in my life when I was working on my doctorates in organizational leadership. But I haven't done anything like this where I invested in me. And so therefore, I really appreciate the commissioners for recognizing that there was the need. Effective delegation in management, how to boost my leadership skills. How do I share with you the importance of that class? That class taught you that you don't delegate assignments because you don't like them. You delegate assignments because you have a team that may have skills that one of the commissioners made a comment to me like, well, you've always had people on staff that could help you and have leadership abilities. And that commissioner was correct. But what I learned in this class was that delegation requires an intangible. That intangible is called trust. It's called building your faith in your team, assessing them. One of the classes even taught me like how to teach each member of my leadership, break them up into the 4 categories. It was called ABCD. And as I did that, it literally taught you how to communicate based upon what type of individual that leader or employee is. So I learned a lot. One commissioner saw a class that I took called Delegating to Financial Employees, and that commissioner goes like, well, that's good, but we want you to know how to delegate to all employees. And of course, my background is finance, and of course, I would be inclined to want to take that kind of course, but I did go and take another course as well. And finally, the human resource manager indicated that there was a class that was not applicable, and it was not. I met with the director of training at ICM to get a thorough understanding as to why didn't I have to take Local Government 101. And that director informed me because he did an assessment of my education, managerial, and all of that. And he says, no, you already qualified. So no, the commissioner is correct that what you should take is 201. Now, 201 has 22 classes. So that means that's going to take perhaps 3 to 6 months to complete. But I needed to take a class myself and just feel it and understand it. So I did complete one course of this 22 course long class. And what I learned in that one course was how to communicate with the different levels, like the commissioners, the department leaders, the public, and also the employees. And again, I loved what I learned. I love what I have done. I love the fact that I was given an opportunity. This may have seemed to be a really hard situation, and it was. But I am the first to admit that it has pushed me to identify and assess myself. You know, what are the weaknesses that I may have, you know, that I never knew about? I'm encouraged. Matter of fact, I was so encouraged. I'm missing out a little bit to encourage. And I took a class from the Florida government. I don't know if it's here. Yeah. Florida Ethics, Public Records, and Sunshine Law. That was a 4-hour class, actually 5, and that was from the Florida Institute of Government. I share this to say that I did complete with the organization Managing Emotions and Effective Communication, and I did attend those classes here in the public setting with the rest of the directors, but correct, I did walk in and out taking care of city matters. I cannot tell you how critical this class was. I think this is the one where we learn about the hats, sad hats. And sad hats means that, and we all know it, sad hats means that when we come to work, we all come with a lot of baggage, all of us. And sad hat teaches you how to address all the baggage that you're walking with and also your direct reports. So I really, really learned, and I'm very appreciative of that as well. So I just want to thank you for the opportunity of allowing me to build my skill set and then reinforce and re-engineer myself even further. I'm committed to being the best city manager that I can be. And thank you.
Any questions?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
I have two questions. The questions that I asked before the cure period, and I asked this question to legal, HR, and Ms. Carter. And the question is, on all the allegations that were presented to us by employees, do you feel that any of those allegations were against policy? That you committed against policy?
Well, if there were to be any, I'm not sure. I really don't know. I don't think so. But if I had to try to imagine, perhaps when when the battery was changed, even though I wasn't there, didn't request it, didn't see it because I wasn't there, or the doorknobs that were changed. I'm just saying, maybe that could be where, okay, if I had known, I should have stopped them or something like that. I don't know. Anything else, as far as I'm concerned, there are allegations. And allegations mean that anybody can say anything they want to about me. The real deal is whether or not it's true. And I've addressed the allegations to the best of my ability. Anything that was almost true, I admitted that, okay, this is true. And that's the best that I can do with answering your question.
Again, I asked legal, the same question was, that were there any concerns that we should look at? That was, there's no question that the effort to cure, but it was an analogy about curing once a bell has rang, it can't be unrang. And I just wanted to know, have we covered that?
Wait,
That's
before
what-
she answered, please, I just thought of something. I'm sorry, before she answered. There was one item that was identified to me when I discussed it with my mentor. He did suggest that whatever value I thought the 15 or 10 minutes that they were outside at my house to submit a check to the city of Palatka. And I did do that. So perhaps that was the one thing that could have been policy, maybe. I don't know.
Ms. West, I guess now.
So let me try and understand your question, because you have a full investigative report by someone who was hired to conduct this investigation independently and not have internal investigations conducted. And so I would point you in the direction of that investigative report. It was done by an attorney who made a presentation to this commission. You had an opportunity to ask that attorney questions. I'm not going to second guess his findings because I did not conduct the investigation.
But as our legal counsel, I'm asking you to interpret. That's what I'm asking, because it was an investigation done by an independent investigator attorney. And I asked this question right here, and it was answered.
Yes, it
I
was.
just want you-
answered this question.
So that's why I want you to answer it now. And the reason being, it's not an angle, it's just my question. And Ms. Carter just kind of came back and answered that question, but it's how do you cure it after it's already happened? So that's my question. And the first part of it was it a violation of policy?
So as I
Perfectly
stated
clear.
previously, it was not only a violation of policy, but it was also a violation of the code of ethics under the Sunshine Law. That is what I stated previously. Her attempt to cure by cutting a check to the city of Palatka perhaps addresses that in a manner that pleases this commission.
Mayor, if I can
Go ahead.
kind of piggyback, because I asked the question to HR during the time of the initial investigation. If it was a breach of policy and what would have been done if it was a regular employee and not the city manager. And she stated that could have, or for lack of terminology, there are several things that could have taken place with regards to, so how it is cured is the decision of the city commission and not anyone else. So I would go on record to say that question was asked, and that was the direction that we got from HR at the time of our initial meetings. Which meeting, I can't tell you, but that was a question that was asked. And the direction was several things could have, depending on what that department head or whoever was overseeing that particular employee would have set in motion. And again, I feel that if we are looking for something to be cured, that direction should have come from the city commission and not a member of staff.
Go ahead.
So I guess collectively, we'll have to independently decide if that was a cure. Paying. What was the purpose of the payment?
My mentor has like 41 years as city manager, and basically he says, just if I think there's any kind of value that can be assigned, whatever it seems to be, just give that to the city. So therefore, I'm not accepting a gift or anything like that. I did not direct anyone to go to my house. I didn't ask anyone, but it did occur. And I take responsibility. So that's the best I can answer.
And it's my last statement on that. Now you have a case where a person was on the clock and got paid by you.
Oh, I don't know that they were on the clock. Nobody never told me that, so I don't know that.
So let's clarify. Let's clarify. They did not get paid by her. She submitted a check to the city for the
Right.
services of that. So I don't want, as we're beginning to dive in, let's be mindful of how we put stuff
I'm
out.
asking the question.
That wasn't a question. You made a statement.
I asked her that. So I asked Ms. Carter that. So Ms. Carter, that's what her answer was, and she just said she didn't know. So you could really throw it out, what I just said,
So-
because she said she didn't know. I'm not trying to. It's the two questions I had last time, same two questions. I didn't change up any questions.
So the question is, do you feel like it was cured? And if not, what can she do to cure that? Because again, direction comes from
There you
us
go.
and not.
I don't really think there's a way to cure that. The only way to move is to move on if this is what the commission desires and ensure that such actions don't happen again, ethics violations, et cetera. That there's been an experience learned from doing this and that these things will never happen again. If it is the desire of the commission to keep Ms. Carty in this position and move on, there is no way to change what happened. Even honestly, I have mixed feelings about you paying the city for something that really isn't tied. I think that's adding fuel to the fire. I think it would be best we either just forgive and move on, and let's not do this ever again, and we will monitor that closely as part of our evaluation process going forward. But at this point, there's no other remedy for that that I can come up with.
Okay, so your direction, Mayor?
Go ahead.
I said your direction.
Are we looking for direction? Where are we?
I think we're looking for direction moving forward. Is there any further issues to discuss or discussion of anything? I think it's time to make some decisions.
I think we have to hear from the public.
Well, we
before-
can do that. Yes, that's fine, but I didn't know if there was any more, as I said, discussion. I'm opening the floor to public comment. Ms. Kitchens?
Allegra Kitchens, Palatka, Florida. Under the United States Constitution, you're innocent until proven guilty in a court of your peers. Ms. Carty, to my opinion, has been judged guilty for the past 3 months, but tonight it looks like you all are taking a reasonable course. Did all the staff complete their required training? You all required the staff to do training. Have they completed theirs? If not, and Marcia didn't complete hers, you can't penalize her and let them slide because that's discrimination. The investigator talked to city staff who hadn't filed a complaint, which caused new complaints to come out where they were not part of the original 3. I'd say that was fruit from the poison tree. The investigator appears to have influenced people who had no complaint to complain. The investigator tainted the actual evidence by asking other staff if they had problems with Carty. It is human nature to jump on the bandwagon, as it were, and join the pack mentality when given half the chance. Former city manager Troy Bell had numerous complaints against him, including the letter from former projects director Marcia Gano, detailing the toxic work environment he caused during his 7-month regime. He removed his GPS locator without permission, violating policy. Bell worked from home without permission of the commission, violating policy. Bill created a toxic workplace and had his city employees crying at their desk and most top employees resigning. Yet Bill was not fired or even reprimanded until he tried to pull a coup on the commission by illegally renegotiating a contract and writing a check for over $25,000. That was a violation of city policy and city law. Then after a 4-hour debate, he was fired by only a 4-to-1 vote. What is the difference between Bell and Carty? Bell had numerous staff complaints. Carty had 3 filed and 6 urged by the investigator. Bell violated city law. Carty has not. Bell spent most of his time out of the office. Carty is in the office most of the time. Bell had staff crying at their desks. Carty has staff smiling again. Bell had most top-level employees resign. Carty has only had 2 or 3. The number one difference between Carty and Bell is this: he is a man and she is a woman. So why is she not being given the same leniency Bell got? It would appear that she is being discriminated against simply because she is a woman and not a man. Carty is one of the best city managers Palatka's had in the last 20 years. Carty is a good, decent woman with good morals and a strong work ethic. She has a high professional credential and is doing a great job as city manager. It was said at a previous meeting that the commission needed to look out for all their employees. I would remind the commission, you only have 1 employee, and that is the city manager. If you don't look out after her, your 1 employee, why would the other city employees think you would look out after them? Support your 1 employee, give her the same leniency you gave to Troy Bell, and vote to keep Marcia Carty as your and our city manager. Thank you.
Ms. Frey?
My name's Mackenzie Fry. I'm a Palatka property and business owner. I'd first like to give some background on the Sunshine Law. It requires public business decisions, especially regarding the city manager, to be made publicly by the full commission. Private discussions, polling via email, or using staff as go-betweens are prohibited and can void decisions, trigger fines, and removal from office. I'd like to give a timeline of 5 key events and how they specifically violate this Sunshine Law. First event, HR polling and illegal private discussion. See the meeting minutes passed out for September 15th. They dictate that on September 10th, HR Director Jones emailed the commission, "Do you want to place the city manager on leave?" This is illegal polling. Event number 2, decision made without full commission nor public emergency meeting. By the next morning, following this illegal polling, Ms. Carty had already been placed on leave. In the September 15th meeting minutes, Commissioner Campbell stated, "It was not collectively because you did not hear from me," showing that a binding personnel decision occurred without full commission nor public vote. Third event, mayor coordination with HR, September 15th meeting shows, quote, "A letter was drawn by placing her on administrating leave with pay. The mayor stated she put Ms. Carty on leave to keep everyone safe. Florida Attorney General opinions state that mayors and commissioners cannot privately meet with staff to discipline nor remove the city manager." Event 4, allegations and investigative report were not made public. Even though Florida's public records law requires them to be accessible once an investigation concludes. The city cited privacy, however, the report could have made public with redacting the names. Event number 5, September 15th agenda, see the notes. There's a pre-planned interim put in place, is my opinion. I'd first like to give some definitions. We have the word acting manager, which would be temporary coverage, and interim manager, which would be replacement. Before the investigation began, the September 15th agenda item includes the specific words, "formal appointment of interim city manager." Placing interim on the agenda before facts existed showing that there was an intent to privately replace and not publicly investigate Ms. Carty. Sunshine violations that we've identified so far, there's 7. Number 1, polling commissioners through HR. 2, private coordination between mayor and staff. 3, unilateral disciplinary action without commission vote. 4, no publicly noticed meeting. 5, pre-planning the replacement before investigation. 6, implementing a binding decision using staff as intermediaries. 7, withholding allegation and investigation records. It is my opinion that the unlawful action was not Ms. Carty's. It was the process used to remove her, and that process violates the Sunshine Law at every single step of the timeline.
Thank you. Ms. Garris?
Thank you for allowing me to speak, Pam Garris. I reside in the city limits after 50 years. I'm a Palatka resident again. Let us take a deep breath and think about what is best for the city of Palatka, which includes its citizens, those who govern, department heads, and those who serve in those departments. First, we need to seek those who are the best equipped to serve the needs of the city. High standards should be set in seeking those individuals. Well-qualified individuals are accustomed to a professional setting where their talent, strong work ethic, and compatibility with coworkers are appreciated and rewarded. We have such an individual in Marcia Carty as city manager. We must support her in leading the entire city workforce, give her professional development when needed. When criticism arises from her subordinates through professional practices thorough professional practices should be employed to discern the validity of those concerns. If determined that there is no validity to employees' concerns, those should be noted and dealt with by human resources in a manner deemed professional by national standards. Methods such as team building and job description review should be ongoing in a timely manner as prescribed by city policy. If those policies do not exist, they should be put in place immediately. The city commission must treat each other and all employees with respect. The positive demeanor of the elected officials sets the tone for the workplace. Leaders must lead in a positive manner to affect a positive community spirit within the city workplace, even when difficult situations arise. Marcia Carty has shown such grace under pressure when responding to the accusations made about her job performance. Is she perfect? No, none of us are. The key is how we react to the negative pressures presented in the workplace. She has responded in a professional manner. My recommendation is that the city contract the services of a professional human resources company to review the status of all current employees, city legislators, and make recommendations for the improvement of the working relationship of all concerned. The city of Palatka cannot continue to hire individuals, find fault, and then find firing them as the only solution. This is a waste of human potential and taxpayer revenues. Thank you.
Ms. McCaskill?
Ms. McCaskill, Palatka, Florida. I do have a few questions, and I know that you are not supposed to answer questions during public comment, but I just want to throw them out there. I did hear that Ms. Carty was placed on a 30-day cure period. My question is, along with the mentor, how does the mentor, what does mentoring look like? How often do they meet? How much does it cost? I know that a mentor has 41 years of experience. The long-term that came up, is that something that Ms. Carty requested, or is that something that the commission is requesting? Some of them were answered. I'm quite sure during the process, there was a SWOT analysis completed, I hope. I think I heard something along the lines of an analysis, but a SWOT analysis would be good as a good training. And when the courses were recommended, who assigned the courses? Who decided that there should be 2 or 3? Not really worried about the number, the quantity of hours, but the quality of the courses that she was assigned. So that will be all, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Wise?
Audrey Wise, a resident of Palatka. I sat through a number of the meetings that has been held, and I heard the desire of this committee when it came to the curing process for the city manager. You gave out suggestions and the things that you would like to see her complete or begin to work on, which were very good courses that was put out. My concern is you gave her standard of classes that you wanted to give your city manager. Your city manager completed or in the process of completion of these courses. Never did you say it had to be 1 hour, 2 hours, or 3. And sometimes when you have these courses, it's not the number of hours, it's the quality of the training. I heard Ms. Carty give a feedback on what she gleaned from these courses. And it sounds as though that your intent was to make her more knowledgeable of her items of weakness. From what I heard, it sounded as though that she did learn something, regardless if the courses was 1 hour or 2 hours. She was able to glean something that would enhance your employee to do her job in a better form. Number 1 checklist on your report, a positive thing from the commission to her. She gave an analogy of how she could see this prospering within her leadership, how she's willing to put that into work, and how she saw the things that she was lacking. And she's looking to do even more. Now we're at the 9th hour of decision. And the committee is giving more questions and on things that you've already set forth. You put a bar, a level of achievement in place. Now you're beckoning and bobbing and weaving from these levels that you gave her. My thing is stand by your word. Stand by what you say. I do understand you want the best and you want to make sure these things are in place and the city is enhanced in growth. So stand by your word of what you said to complete and see that this employee is willing to rise to the occasion. I say, keep her in the position she's in. She's willing to work and be molded. Thank you.
Is there anybody else here for public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do we want to respond to any of these statements and questions?
Yes, I
Go
can
ahead.
respond if given the
Go ahead,
opportunity.
Ms. Cardi.
I would like to respond as it relates to the mentoring process. Mr. Jim Hanson, I have two mentors. Mr. Jim Hanson, he is a senior advisor. And as such, there is no fee for the services that he provides. He is with ICMA. He's a prior president and also on the board and especially with Florida League of Services. And he has been a city manager for 41 years. So a part of his process is that he insists that I attend the ICM conference, which I did at the end of October. Additionally, on a weekly basis at 2 p.m. on Fridays, we meet every Friday, Zoom or telephone. In person, he has been to the city twice. He was here, either it was last week or the week before. I think it was last week. And he even sat with myself and my department heads. And he also observed me, I think, in a one-on-one meeting. And he looked at the accomplishments that the department heads and myself have achieved during this 1 year or 14 months combined as interim and permanent. And he made some recommendations, even a part of his recommendation was, as the commissioners had mentioned before, that we continue with setting up retreats. He said it was very important that we made certain that we got involved with the strategic plan and et cetera. But besides Mr. Hanson, who did spend time with me also at the conference, is Miss Anita Favors Thompson. She's well renowned. She has been the city manager for the city of Tallahassee. She spent time with me over the weekend. She ensured that there was another organization that would provide even more mentoring that I was not aware of. I don't know how to say the alphabets, but I think it's NRB something. And so public administrators. So I've now joined that group as well, so that naturally I would receive mentoring from that. But she has asked that she meet with me every other week. And so she will be spending time with me as well. And that's as it relates to the mentoring.
And there is no cost to Ms. Favor
No
Thompson
cost.
either.
She's
Okay,
also
just to
retired as well.
answer Ms. McCaskill.
Yes, ma'am. The only cost is mileage
Mileage.
reimbursement. Yes, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Mayor, if I can, I would want to address just real briefly, I don't want to dive into it. The reference to a lot of the things of potential sunshine conflicts. Hence the reason why I want to make sure as we move forward that decisions that are made with regards to the city manager solely comes from the commissioners. And when we need direction, we may be able to seek it. However, ultimately, final decisions come from the 5 individuals who are elected, and not bringing staff into a lot of our discussions, because oftentimes we hear one way or another, we have an HR, that's their job, things of that nature. But again, that's with the day-to-day operation. When it comes down to the responsibility to the commission, their responsibility is to the city manager and not necessarily the city commission. So as we move forward, I do, and those are things that I take in consideration. And that's why I made the statement that we made earlier to make sure as we move forward, even with this curing process, wrapping it up one way or another, as we move forward with the future evaluations or future decisions as it pertains to our employee, that we be mindful of bringing staff and polling and all of those different things. So again, I thank you for bringing that before us.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes, to continue along the lines of Commissioner Campbell, he's absolutely right. We do have some work to do. And one of the ways we can do that is to establish a policy for not just managing, but for handling the type of issues that have come forth. The only policy that the city of Palatka has is for employees. So the same policy for any employee is the same policy we have for our direct report. And I think there needs to be a delineation in that policy because of the nature of her role and the impact on the city. So perhaps that's something we can look at in the near future to review that policy and make sure it is one that is fair to our employee and puts the commission in a position to appropriately address items that come forward.
And to your point, that was even when we came up with the grievance policy, that was one of the things of how do we handle the grievance when we are dealing with the city manager?
Yep.
Because I served as a president of a local organization that received the director received a complaint and we had to work through it. So I'll be glad to introduce to the
Perfect.
commission what we implemented within that organization of hopes of building or taking it as a blueprint to move forward. So if we were to move, or if we were to ever be in this position again, that we have some type of policy in place. And again, I'll be more than happy to introduce that policy for that respective organization so that we can tailor it for the city of Palatka.
And Mayor, if I can
Yes,
finish
okay.
too, before we move forward, I want to also address the cure requirements. The items that were in the cure requirements, the classes were not randomly selected. When I mentioned in the last meeting that I took the information from the meeting and went back and tried to assess where we were, I actually reached out to a vice president of human resources and looked at required classes for the level of administrator of a city manager. And then I looked at the allegations that we had in addition to some of the items that the commissioners had already mentioned. And that's where that list came from. So I do want to say that they were not just made up classes, but they were recommended classes. And I looked at what was offered by the Florida League of Cities and ICEMA and tried to complement what was not necessarily included in the certification process. So that's where the recommendation came from. Mayor, and when ready, I'd like to make a recommendation to move
Okay,
forward.
is there any further responses to things brought up at public comment? If
Yes.
not, did you say yes?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So, Mr. Fry, everything that you brought up, we did try to address previously, as you highlighted in your notes here. As Commissioner Campbell just stated about the employees, I think there's also an opportunity, is an area of opportunity where we need to actually realign where the attorney actually is there for us to ask these questions. These questions come up in the middle of us deliberating, and we need some guidance. We're not attorneys. And so there's things that Ms. Fry just pointed out that I feel that our attorney, the city attorney, should also caution us. And I'm not saying that you haven't in the past, but for citizens to come up and actually point out that these things have occurred in these meetings, I would love for our city attorney to kind of like put a caution light out there so that we don't cross these lines. And I would like to, you know, whatever it's gonna take, we change the charter. I think we need to move diligently and expeditiously to make that happen. Because right now, it almost feels as if the city attorney, which answers to the city manager, don't have the obligation to answer to us. And I don't know if the city attorney actually feel comfortable answering questions from us. It's,
Let me answer. Of course I do.
Yeah.
You are part of the city and I have an attorney-client relationship with you just as I do with the city as a government and the city manager. So let me address a couple of the questions. I have actually warned this commission on numerous occasions about polling. I was not familiar with the particulars of this particular incident, so I can't speak to that, but I can speak to a couple of the other things. The investigative report was made public per Florida statutes 119. The unilateral placement on administrative leave, we do actually have a grievance policy that does address the city manager. This was done earlier this year. It needs work still, as Commissioner Boren pointed out, it had a provision in it that's a direct conflict with the city charter because it requires a supermajority for removal of the city manager. But the grievance policy does allow for unilateral placement of administrative leave. It specifically says the mayor may, but is not required to, place the city manager on paid administrative leave until the next business meeting of the city commission following receipt of complaint by delivering written notice to the city manager. The mayor does not have to consult with or poll the remaining commissioners. That is a unilateral power that was vested in the mayor that she took advantage of in placing the city manager on administrative leave. But our policy as it currently stands allows for that, and it is not a breach of Florida Sunshine Law because it is not firing and permanently placing the city manager on leave. It was administrative leave for administrative leave. It wasn't a firing. A firing of a city manager can only occur with the majority vote of this commission, and that is because of our city charter. It explicitly states that. I hope that answers some of your questions.
thank you. I mean, it mainly was for Ms. Fry, and I'm glad that you
Thank you.
so diligently answered that question. I have one more thing, could I say it before we go to vote? Madam Mayor?
Yes, go ahead. And then Commissioner Boren did have
Okay.
something to say as well.
I asked explicitly those two questions early on. And I asked them because I really, and I want to put my point of view out there. I really thought that what we had done to Ms. Carter was double jeopardy. We actually, in our last meeting, we actually reappointed her as the city manager. Then we gave her sanctions. How do we reappoint her and then give her sanctions? Because if we reappointed her, she's already reappointed. So how do you undo that? That's a question that, to me, it sounded like double jeopardy. But why would we even be up here today to take another action if we have reappointed her?
You are here today because her employment contract requires that you give her 30 days notice before termination. And you decided as a commission together to use that 30 days to basically craft a very specific cure period for what you would like to see transpire during that 30-day notice period within her employment contract. Her employment contract does not provide for you making a custom tailored cure period where she has a checklist of things to do. That was because of Commissioner Davis's motion, where she basically researched the things that she would like to have done. And this commission agreed with Commissioner Davis's motion and it passed. But there's no requirement under her employment contract to do that. It does require that 30-day notice.
Right. So she did not have to follow through. Is that what you're saying? I'm just asking a question because I said to me that's what it appeared to be. So it's a pointed question.
If she wanted her job, it was pretty clear she was gonna have to
Yeah,
meet
it
some
was a
of the.
motion made by, a decision made unilaterally by this commission that she would have to accomplish these things.
Right.
Or she would, we could have just terminated her automatically after 30 days
Exactly, the
without
fact-
much thought about it. So, yes, I think she did have to meet those requirements as dictated by the commission.
But reinstatement, there, all right, I'm gonna let it go. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner,
re- Can I?
go ahead.
The reinstatement was to, because that was the question. The reinstatement of her as city manager was to relieve the interim that's, as we noted, so that we could fully allow her to do the job as city manager, because in the words that I used at that meeting, it was a buffer that would not allow her to be able to really interact with those that she needed to interact with or do the job, because there was someone that was basically the gatekeeper to see if I should let them through the gate or things of that nature. So that's why we use the terminology of reinstate her to be back, because she was on administrative leave. But in order for her to really be able to do the job that she needed, that we needed her to do, to truly evaluate her in the capacity of city manager, we needed to remove that buffer, which was Chief Shaw at that time. So that's why we reinstated her to be fully back as city manager, relieving Chief Shaw as the acting at that appointed time.
Thank you. Commissioner Borum requested to speak a while ago. Go ahead.
Yes.
Commissioner Borum.
The policy that you stated that the mayor has unilateral decision rights to be able to place the city manager on administrative leave without commission involvement. When did that pass? That wasn't always in place that I remember.
Have to. April, thank you. It was this spring.
So very recently,
Okay, well, I wasn't aware of it, but
and I was, or I wouldn't have done it otherwise. Anybody else?
April 2025, I mean, I'm saying, I wasn't aware of the language that was in that particular policy, and just, I would like to see the results of the votes that actually occurred on it. That's what I'd like to request.
So I will say this, having actually practically worked through the various steps in this new procedure, I can tell you that it's disastrous. It's a mess. We need to
It
take
is.
it back to the drawing board. I've conferred with the city manager about the need to do this. She has lived through this experience. I have too, all of you have, and it did not work well. We need a better process. We are going
I
to
agree.
work on that and come back before the commissioner with a better procedural due process. So we're
Yes,
working.
the
on
real
it.
experience was not a positive one, so we do need to.
Right, and we have been
Correct.
researching also, yeah.
Okay.
I agree. Go ahead, Commissioner. You're going to say something? I'm sorry. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, now are you ready to? Okay, go ahead.
Yes, based on completion of the cure period and positive results with staff and the work that has been done with the city, I move that we maintain Marcia Carty as the city's manager.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Borum,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Mayor Carrera,
Yes. It was a unanimous vote. Thank you. Is there any further items we want to discuss at this particular meeting?
Prior to us leaving this meeting, I do want us to take in consideration for our upcoming commission meeting that we place the evaluation as a whole on the agenda, so that we are able to clearly identify deadlines of the commission, so that we can properly maintain an up-to-date evaluation. And I will go on record to say, we have failed previously with other city managers by not upholding evaluations. And I do not want the failure of another city manager to be on us where we're coming in and we have a discussion where we did not even evaluate in the first place. So I want to make sure that staff understands that I am making the recommendation that this be an agenda item. And we be prepared as a commission to talk about it as long as we need to, because again, we want to make sure that the person that sits in the seat as city manager is successful. And we've done absolutely everything that we're supposed to do as the employers of the city manager to ensure that they are successful in their position.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Yes,
And
go ahead.
when we do that, can we have the evaluation
Two.
that tool that we approved in an earlier meeting before we got our dates? If we could bring that
That would be helpful
document
to
to
have
the
it in
meeting,
advance.
because we do have a document.
We
Thank
do.
you.
Yes, no, yeah.
Anything else? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Thank you. Did you have something else?
No, I just